Liam Harvey from Ground Punch, and today I'm joined by Kevin.
Hello.
Hello, and we are both here for a Fireside chat. It's our tradition that we had at our old site, where we talked about everybody's gone to the Rapture, I believe, and Firewatch, and a Laser Fear, and today we're talking about Asemblance, which came out a few days ago, Kev, right?
Yep, on Tuesday.
On Tuesday. The teaser trailer for it came out just over a month ago, and me and Kevin were hugely excited. Like I said before, we are huge fans of these first-person exploration games when they're done well. But I think it's kind of fair to say that as we've both played Asemblance now, it's very different. It's very, very different from all those type of things. Basically, it's a story-based puzzle game, which was quite surprising, that draws its influences from games like PT and the Stanley Parable. The mood and the ambience of it, I'd say, is kind of very much on point with what they reference with the Twilight Zone. Very strange, very mysterious. And the soundtrack is David Lynch, just kind of awfulness. It's like there's some kind of weird stuff going on there. This is the pilot episode in a potentially first of many self-contained stories and events, and this one is about the implications of an experimental memory machine. You're trying to escape, I guess, but also trying to simply understand what the fuck is going on. And then you go into all these different memories and you just try and get contextual clues about, again, what's going on, what has happened before, and what is kind of going to happen, and you solve these puzzles. But the crucial thing is that, the kind of game doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't tell you anything about how it works, how it operates, and yeah, it was a huge surprise.
So where should we begin? What do you remember? Just enter the simulation and relax. You had a good life, but things changed. Do you remember your home? Your wife? How you met? Are you sure you want to remember?
Kev, what are your overall thoughts?
Like you said, when they first released that teaser trailer, they were selling it as obviously inspired by Twilight Zone. I want to say X-Files was in there.
Yeah.
In the first little press release, I want to say, and
Black Mirror by Charlie Brooker, which is one of my favorite shows ever. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's just extraordinary. I didn't see much of that in this particular episode, but like I said, it is an ongoing series. Hopefully, if this does well.
But yeah, because that first, you and I both got super excited because it's by a very, very small team as well. Because they posted on the PlayStation blog, like you said, about a month ago. I think I shared it with you, and I was like, Liam, look at this thing. They mentioned X-Files. I'm on board. I can't remember my exact feelings. I would have to go back, but it was definitely different from when I finally started to play and got into the game. I don't know that if I was expecting something different, or I guess I just didn't know what to expect since I kind of just saw that first trailer. They didn't release a ton of info. I'm just so used to, here's Final Fantasy, and here's 1,000 different posts and videos, and you can pretty much know everything about the game before it comes out for the most part.
Exactly. They had that
Asemblance.
one announcement, which at the time was only a month away from release. They did push it back a little bit by a few weeks just to get, some last tweaks going. And they haven't really said kind of much else. I mean, the email that they sent out to us, because we were very fortunate to get a code for it, they kind of did go out and they explain about the studio and about who they are and where they've come from. But otherwise, it's very, very mysterious. The guy who founded the studio, Nilo Studio, I believe his name is.
Yeah, Niles.
He had a hand in one of my favorite horror games, very underrated, Condemned.
You mean Destiny? You love him because of his hand in Destiny.
And then he did some stuff for Destiny and also Halo 3 and Halo Reach, I believe. And it is a very small core team. But yeah, didn't know kind of much about it, and perhaps that was best actually, because the expectations that I had were already there for something quite different. And then when I played it, yeah, hugely different. Not entirely sure still how to kind of feel about it. But yeah.
Yeah, that's how I am. Because
Start?
the game opens up and essentially, let me find this, because the pitch is, let me see. So you wake to find yourself trapped inside an experimental machine, a machine built to simulate memories. You have no idea how you got here, but to break the cycle, you must look into a past that you may not want to remember. So it just throws you right in. It does have great interaction with like the AI in the game. Yeah. They do some really good job with like contextual stuff. Yes. If you are doing at least in the earlier parts of the game, towards the end, when it's kind of messing with you and you're shifting from kind of like memory to memory, less contextual voiceover like that. But I did really enjoy that stuff earlier in the game. The kind of like, obviously their comparisons to Stanley Parable, definitely there you can feel that kind of that interaction, which is great, but it throws you right in. I was surprised how like good the game looks and how it runs.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I believe it's running on Unreal 4. This is one of the first games that I personally played on it, and it does look very, very fine. Yeah, absolutely. Was it you start off in this testing chamber, like you said, you're talking to this AI or whatever. He's talking to you. It's one of those games where you don't have a voice. Very 2001-esque. Yeah, so you're in this testing chamber, and then you get a choice of 3 or 4 memories to load up. You know, not at first, it builds up. And each of them are quite different. There's someone's office. There's a very nice outdoor environment. I like this park environment. And what is the last one again? I've completely spaced.
Because there's the park.
Apartment.
Yeah.
That's right.
The park. The office, the apartment, and then the like glitched memory
and the glitched memory, yes, yeah. Which I've not seen. I don't know what's in that. I haven't accessed that at all. But you go into each of these memories, and the important thing to say is that the game does not tell you anything about what to do. So there's tape recordings, there's all kinds of documents to read. The only interaction that you've got is the occasional press X to open a drawer.
Open a drawer, yep.
That's about it, and even those are very few and far between, and you can zoom in. A very powerful zoom. It's like when you press that button, the character puts on his glasses or something. It's like a sniper rifle.
It's concentrating real hard. Your eyes.
Yeah, which allows you to see all the finely crafted stuff, and there's clues everywhere. And I guess unlike a lot of games which kind of do have this level of detail, it's all very, very much important. Like, you know, there isn't a ton of wasted space. It's easy after years and years of playing these type of games to disregard certain things that it's telling you that's not going to be important. You know, that's not going to be important. There'll be equations or timestamps or kind of things like that. And we'll get into that later about the amount that the internet has gone crazy over this stuff. But yeah, and then you can go back into certain memories under different conditions, and maybe you'll find reference to an event happening at a certain time, so you stare at a clock and time will go forwards a little bit, so you're at that moment in time, and then clues will be slightly different. Yeah, I don't know how to break this down necessarily.
The premise is like it puts you in these environments, and like I said, it is like this puzzle box that you're constantly trying to figure out. We both did play the Resident Evil like teaser demo, and that is like just very straightforward. Up, you found a key. Up, you're going here. Up, you're doing this. It is like
but even with that game, there were some people that like, oh, did you find the axe? No, I did not find the axe. Did you find this hidden clue somewhere? And even with that game, which wasn't done half as well, a lot of internet hubbub about kind of certain things that are locked off, certain things that you need to do to see certain things. And just imagine that, but a much more engrossing experience kind of going on. And the whole game is that. It's the hunt for clues, hunt for context, hunt for simple understanding, which I must admit I don't have a firm grasp of. And like I said to you off air, like I enjoyed it, and the hunt for that, I think I've taken it as far as I can go personally. But seeing some of the things on Reddit or on the Steam community, they've really, again, the internet is so good at this, where they just take it off and explore all these avenues with the shifts. Like I said, you can see these memories under certain conditions, and you get various different endings. There is one ending and one shift, the white shift, which I don't believe, as of right now, anyone solved in the entire world. Is that right?
Exactly. Because the shifts essentially, like, you can get through, I think there's a couple endings you can get through relatively easy. But then, like I said, how, like, once you get past a certain point, it does become this puzzle box where you do have to interact with the environments in different ways. And there are clues here and there that say, oh, oh, go where this certain butterfly is, kind of leads you on this path. Does get super obtuse, and that's kind of where, not that it completely lost me, but that's where I kind of got kind of the same boat with you, where it's like, I can appreciate this. Like, there are some great, obviously, like, inclusions of hunting down, like, obviously the email stuff, we'll get into that. But
yes,
it got to a certain point with me where I was like, I want to, figure this out, but it's like, at the same time, I'm banging my head against the wall, trying like the same 12 things over and over again, because I can't get like this last shift. Yeah, it's just, I know like it's so close, and I know, one of the cool things is that they actually sent out an email. Let me see. It was 13 hours ago. It was from Eric, who's done some of the PR stuff. Who sent us a code because he sent out an email. I meant to forward it to you, but I didn't, and I was like, I'll just share it.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's
I'm learning stuff for the first time now. As well. Go ahead. Yeah.
Because essentially it's a community bands together hoping to beat Asemblance. And it talks about how like they've been watching people on Twitch. They've been watching obviously like Steam and Reddit and all those boards online. And they say like people have gotten extremely close. And apparently there are a few steps to enact like the last shift. But then there is also like one more puzzle to actually get out of the chamber itself. So it looks like there's even more. But it does talk about how, yes, the game does have like an ending, quote unquote, that you can get to in about an hour or so. But all this extra stuff, the extra puzzles, the ARG hunting, there's just so much more to it. And I love kind of like that narrative, and there are like narrative clues, and there is a lot of stuff happening, and as you go along you kind of piece that together. But it is like some of the frustration comes from like, I've like seen these bits and pieces here and there, like your wife, obviously like some sort of accident. I need this last like narrative chunk to, I think, fully appreciate it, but to get that, I've been banging my head against the wall, and it's like I want this last piece because I really did enjoy the experience. I loved kind of, you don't get a lot of, you usually get like with the power of like PS4 and Xbox One, it's like, oh, here's this huge open world with 1,000 different quests, and it's kind of like there's lots of meandering.
Yes.
You don't get a lot of these like tight experiences like this. I think they did super deliver on kind of that promise of, Black Mirror, X-Files, that sort of premise of a single experience. So.
Because the game does start to make you feel like you're going slightly mad. But like there is a ton of story bits and bobs that I found quite interesting, but it's hard for me to get too invested because I don't know in what order they, will kind of start to fall, or even which parts are irrelevant. And also there is a degree of you are finding certain things in-game by yourself, and there's also a host of things that you learn by sharing stuff online or being part of this community. And I think there is a slight bit of that gets lost when you learn things secondhand. You're like, oh, that's cool, but I didn't experience that because you just told me about that experience. But the actual experience of playing it, you're in the same shoes as whoever you're playing as. You're trying to get out and you're trying to kind of put the pieces together, and you are going slightly mad because you're not too sure what's real, what is false, because there is heavy implication with some of the memories that you're seeing that they've been orchestrated in some way. Or,
they drive that home all the time. Like
all the time.
I forget the exact line, but the AI is like, I'm not sure you should trust these memories or whatnot. Which is why I want that last piece of the puzzle, because I've gotten, those bits and pieces that obviously you put yourself into this machine for a reason, and there are these memories you obviously don't want to remember, but it's like, it's like watching an episode of obviously like Twilight Zone, but you stop like right before the last 10 minutes where you get like the ending, the huge payoff. Yeah.
I think the apex of the story that at least I experienced was you are trying to access this memory in full, and it takes place in your apartment, and you know that something bad has happened here. There's like a photographs of your child very young. Something's happened or he's been taken away, and your wife, I believe you're playing as a woman though as well, because all the frame photographs are of two women and a child. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. Again, that was something that I kind of found interesting. Anyway, and there is a certain part of the memory towards the back end of your apartment that you can't access. There's like a door that wasn't open before, and you can just glimpse like a wife in the game crying. When you try and go near her, the AI, who has been your constant companion for all the memories, just closes it down and says, you're not ready for that. And then you have to find a way to turn off the AI so you can go back to that memory. And then when the AI gets shut off, things get really creepy.
Yeah.
And his voice or its voice gets really distorted. And then I think the last thing it says before it turns off completely is, we want your children, which is really creepy. Really creeped me out. I was like, oh my God. And then things go very, very strange. And that's where, the narrative thread for me got a tiny bit lost because I just haven't seen the ending yet. So there is a ton of stuff there that is interesting.
I did appreciate because it does hit on kind of like what obviously does like Twilight Zone and X-Files did, like obviously horror, but like with those mixes of sci-fi, it isn't straight horror, kind of like the Resident Evil thing did. Obviously PT had it was more like psychological horror, but not really anything sci-fi. Obviously I love X-Files, I love that sci-fi stuff, but with like those horror kind of facets to it, so I really did appreciate it. But yeah, definitely as you go along, I didn't even think about that it's women in all those photographs. In this gamescape, I just assumed I was playing as a man, but thinking about it now,
you do, but I was like, that's a woman, and then there's a bullet hole.
Yeah, I've interacted with that goddamn bullet hole so much, trying to be like, this has to be important.
This has to be a clue. Yeah. This has to be of some import, but apparently not. And there's a ton of things as well, like, if you kind of read these threads again, there's other rooms that I don't think people have quite gained access to. There's all sorts going on. I'm just gonna say a quote from the studio head a minute, and I think because I kind of wanted to talk about who this is for. Who it's priced at $9.99, I believe, correct?
$10.
Yeah, so that's fine, and that's kind of more than fine. I don't want to get into a big thing of is it worth it, is it not? But there is a question, I think, of who this is actually for and who will get the most out of it. So Sankey said that he was growing tired of AAA development. In my experience, AAA studios are forced to grow big, huge audiences in mind, which makes creative experimentation really challenging. And I wanted to see what could be done with a very small team and a particular vision. Asemblance as a series hopes to tackle the psychological thriller genre through stories of man and machine. And like I said before, each episode will be a self-contained. They've done that exactly, and they've created the game exactly that I think they wanted to. Now, again, like we said before, it's not quite the game that I thought it was going to be, and that's fine. But Kev, would you say that this is for a certain type of person?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same people that obviously like did play PT and love that experience. I feel like the hype for the Resident Evil demo was definitely not nearly the same because people were super excited and interested for a day or two. That dropped off super fast. Honestly, I hope that Asemblance kind of like ramps up as more people kind of get to know it.
It's such a shame because I feel like some people might have played a Resident Evil demo, which I also played like a few days before Asemblance, and assume, okay, I don't feel it, and it isn't as good as I thought it was going to be, this puzzle box type exploration game, and assume that Asemblance is, because it's from a much smaller studio, just assume that it's worse, or it isn't as well put together. It's much better than that demo, and in some ways it's better than PT, but in certain things that it does. I think it's just come off at a weird time. Hopefully it does well, but that being said, there does seem to be a very small core of really intense people who want to solve this mystery, but it isn't blowing up by any means.
Which is kind of the shame, because obviously, like, tiny brand new studio versus Resident Evil getting stage time at E3, it's like obviously night and day, which is kind of a shame because, like you said, I think Asemblance is a much tighter experience, even, like you said, even possibly even more so than PT was, because PT it got long in the tooth. Obviously, that is one of the issues I have with Asemblance towards the end.
That's another thing that I didn't ever get to the end of PT. I didn't ever see its conclusion. The steps that you had to take was just frankly bonkers, ridiculous.
Yeah. But obviously Assemblances might be a little bit the same, so...
I think that's it. I think I'm just more interested in what Asemblance has to offer, even kind of before it went and did the crazy. But certainly it's very obtuse and weird, and I'm kind of done with it now, personally, especially as you just have to go on some of these threads and you're like, okay, I can't compete with any of this stuff. So let's talk about that a little bit. Some of the stranger stuff that kind of everyone's trying to do to get this one true ending, which again no one has achieved yet. It's kind of been out for a few days. People should have cracked it by now. They should have found something by now, but no.
Because I feel like I got super close, but it's like I'm missing something. A lot of people have gone off on all these tangents about like you have to approach it from certain angles, because when I played yesterday I couldn't get back to like the same set of, I assume it's a bunch of like prerequisites that you have to do leading up to that to kind of
before it,
which is where it gets super confusing, confusing, convoluted, and like the banging the head on the wall
and
part.
just not fun. Yeah, exactly.
When I want to say I played through, can't remember exactly. I think the second night I went back to it, I got through the green shift, or blue, then into green.
Then into green, yes.
And then there's a certain part in where you go through green, but then you start to loop like through the different levels and colors. And then like the wall behind you in the machine like starts to glitch out. And I got to that point, and I've kind of read through a little bit, and I've seen like some people think like that is the right path to get on, but I couldn't figure out kind of what to do next. And it's just that's like I said, that's where it gets frustrating, where it's like I feel like I'm so close to the next part. It is a little bit obtuse, and it doesn't really, there's no rules. Earlier in the game it does kind of like teach you, I guess, a little bit more of a rule set, like, hey, you know, interact with this, which unlocks this, which unlocks this, and here's the next part. And when you get
even
to the
that
shifts,
though was quite troublesome. I wouldn't describe the experience of playing this game like it was tense. It was interesting. I would never quite say it was fun.
yeah, it was
because there's always something that you're missing, or there's something that you're not approaching in the right way, or even if you found the right item to inspect, you might not be doing it at quite the right time. People, they are cross-referencing Google Maps against certain equation coordinates. They're printing out screenshots of certain blueprints of each room, and they're putting them on top of each other. There are some people checking out the game's code on PC to see if there's any hidden clues. There is a clock in the office that appears to run in real time, so some people have taken some quotes from a tape saying weird things happen at a certain time, so they've in the game just sat there and stared at this clock slowly going forwards to see if at that certain time kind of weird stuff does happen. And I think we hinted at before, and we'll kind of get into it kind of more now, there's email addresses hidden throughout other documents, and should you send an email to one of those addresses, you'll get some interesting responses. Kev, have you done this, or have you seen
I saw about it, because on PSN profiles is where I saw some of the first stuff, actually. But yeah, since you can find an email address in the office on one of the computers, and you can email it, and it sends you some interesting stuff and links to some interesting videos.
There's a mixture of automated responses and what appears to be email addresses that someone at the studio is responding to in kind, and I'll get to that in a minute. The most simple email is a questionnaire. They've got an assemblancelabs.com as well, which you can get this from, and if you send an email to that, there it'll be a really quick questionnaire asking you things like, do you consider yourself to be a happy person? When did you start realizing you couldn't change parts of yourself? Who do you blame for your inability to change? And you answer all these questions, and you get an automated response, so that's not very satisfying. There are 3 stages, because all of this is in the guise of you trying to become an applicant for this procedure, and there's 3 stages. Should you go on to the next stage, then they send you a link to a 20-minute video from the 1940s of a very curious operation, Kev. What is that?
Of Russian scientists reanimating a dog's head.
Yes.
Or attempting to, obviously.
And they ask you to watch it all, first of all, and to answer 3 questions based on it about what you saw, what was the point of the experiment. And some people have actually kind of done that. They wrote this big essay type thing and haven't had a response yet back from that. So that's not very satisfying again. But should you find personal email from one of the in-game characters, the head of all these experiments, then you will get personalized responses, and it'll be in like this very strange language. He or she will type in a certain way, which is very off base and a bit weird, but they will be giving you roundabout answers to things. It's very strange. I didn't expect any of this.
Right? Yeah, like I thought it would just be like a 3 to 4 hour, like, I don't know, like just something more episodic, like a TV episode, compared to, not that it's not, but it's definitely, it's a way more interesting and intricate experience than I thought it would be, especially coming from like a team that is so tiny, like the amount of work put into it and kind of like the detail and all those intricacies. It's phenomenal, all this kind of stuff that they're doing. You can tell that they're passionate about it, because it could have
definitely,
just
yeah.
been just a short little experience that was, play through once and kind of done. And it is something with a lot more detail and care. And you can tell that the team at Nilo Studios, they have put a lot of work into this. And I just want to know the end, and I want to see all these details. And I really hope that I don't know how many, I don't think they've said how many episodes they've planned for this Asemblance series, but I hope to at least get a couple more, like a nice little trilogy of episodes would be
that
great.
would be pretty sweet. Yeah. And I think it's quite a smart choice as well in terms of this game, in terms of like, they are a very small studio. They can't make a featured game, like, I don't know, maybe you could compare it to Everybody's Gone to the Rapture or Firewatch. Those are still huge games. This isn't. This is 4 locations that are done extremely well, but that's it. And they are stuffed with things to find out. And it's actually quite a smart use of their means and their size as a studio to create this really bizarre experience. I mean, there is a small part of me that just wishes I had a straightforward narrative to just enjoy and to see the start and the end of. But this is been quite interesting as well. It is also a weird game to talk about. Like, I'm not sure we're coming across very well in terms of what the game offers. I don't know. It's just, you have to see it and you have to experience it for yourself. I think we've tried to stay away from spoilers, even though we're not really sure if we're spoiling anything. We're just not sure. We're just not sure. But it's really cheap. And you should, if any of this has sound appealing to you, check it out. And we'll be doing a review on the site as well.
Yeah, that's the hard part, because it's so hard. Like, I've been trying to think of put together all my thoughts, but it's definitely, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to talk about.
It's incomplete. If you saw the ending and you wasn't satisfied, or you saw it and then you just felt, actually, I didn't even care at all, what does that say about the game? I don't know. Was it kind of worth all the stress and the hassle of it? I mean, this is a gamey thing to be talking about. I mean, which is interesting. It isn't like you can watch an episode of TV and you're all on the same page about what you saw and how you felt about it. This is very special and very unique, and there's still not a very good format to discuss these things other than, that was cool, I haven't seen that, okay, alright. And it's very, very odd. But like I said, do you think future episodes will be about this machine? Because it seems to be quite a good format.
They said man versus machine. I think the whole memory thing, probably not. I think if they did the same thing with jumping into memories back and forth, it would be too similar. But then again, obviously, like you said, they have to manage their resources and their time a little bit more efficiently. So who knows? They are so inspired by, obviously, X-Files and Black Mirror and all that stuff. So the next episode could be something completely different with, I know they said they want to keep the simple mechanics, but it is hard to tell what they are going to do, because not that I wouldn't want, another interesting puzzle box, but I don't think that they can do obviously the exact same jumping into memories. But who knows, maybe that's exactly what they'll do, what they'll go for. I mean, it kind of seems again to be quite a smart way to do it, but I don't know whether that's necessarily something that everyone will be interested in again. Or what about this story being finished up? Can I maybe see more memories? There is a lot of untapped potential, obviously, because I haven't seen the end, but there's a ton of things that we could see more of this. But yeah, it would equally be interesting to see, just to kind of see something completely new. And I'm guessing a turnaround would be not fast, but maybe in a few months, maybe we'll see something else. I have no idea, but they've got to sustain this interest, because it's there, but it is quite small as well. It's very focused on a core audience who seem to have really enjoyed it. Yeah, like I said, it's just so hard, because I know the day it came out, there were already reviews being put out, even though no one has completed the game, which is that's the point where I'm I need the full picture, because if it is an unsatisfying ending, that will go towards that review and my overall thoughts. And it's I put a lot of thoughts to paper, but I don't want to do a final judgment without seeing the whole experience, because
exactly.
I'm not going to judge it.
I've seen a handful of those reviews. Because there is only a very small handful, and which is good, like we're saying. But the ones I have read have been very
generic.
Very generic. They've clearly got maybe the first ending, maybe the second ending as well, and haven't spent a lot of time with it. And I think there is an argument, well, that's fine, but also it doesn't offer you any analysis that you couldn't have got from just playing it yourself. It's very mysterious and opaque, and it's got puzzles. It's basically what we're doing now, actually.
Yeah. Well, obviously, we've talked about it a little bit more, but yeah, that's where I just want to see. Hopefully, someone else figures it out in the next day or two, so I can wrap it out and not have to do a post posting edit. Like I said, that email said that they've been watching the the streams, all that. Maybe maybe if it goes on, a couple more days, they may like at least put out a hint or a clue, or maybe someone will solve it. Because like I said, that the posting on the Steam community, it's already up to, yesterday was at like 24, 25 pages. Now it's up to like 32 or 33 pages.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah,
So-
I checked on it yesterday and it was already insane. I can only imagine what a whole day's kind of worth of back and forth will do.
Because, looking at the stuff, people... Because yesterday, or I can't remember if I checked it yesterday or the day before, but people were in, like, the same kind of area that I was, but now people are doing crazy stuff with looping back and forth and, like, resetting, like, the machine right away once they, like, pop through a certain area, and it's like people are doing some crazy, crazy tricks to kind of loop back and forth through the memory, so someone will probably do it sooner than later. As much as I want that to be me, it's like I can't bang my head against the wall anymore, because I can just sit there for another, because I've honestly, like, even though it's like a 1 hour experience, I've probably spent like 7-8 hours with it. Obviously, like the half of that has been, some of that just wandering around back and forth each memory, doing it at different times, doing different order of things, jumping back and forth and back and forth. I've been there. As much as I want to be the person to solve it, I can't do that to myself.
You've also got a life to lead as well. And like I said, at a certain point, I wouldn't say the game was ever truly fun, but it certainly becomes a less fun when you're just going through the same bits again and again. Which, again, it's all in line with who you're playing as. Again, I think the game is kind of meant to make you feel really on edge and like you're kind of starting to go mad, like I said before. But there is a point where you're just like, no, I will have a look on YouTube when it's done. I will go back in and follow the same steps so I can see it myself. But yeah, no, it is worth checking out. I don't know if there's anything more we can say right now. Just that it's very interesting. I'm glad that I gave it a shot, and I'm very curious to see what they do next.
Hit the nail on the head. It's a great little experience. If you like games that challenge you, like puzzle games, like I said, it's like you're in these different puzzle boxes trying to figure out what to do next. Does most of the stuff that I did experience past, or before that head hitting on the wall, has all been pretty great, and I'm chomping at the bit to see obviously the ending, the next ending, and the true ending, I guess, because I do want all the pieces to kind of come together, so I can maybe either fully appreciate it or kind of be disappointed in the ending, but I want that resolution, be it good or bad.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And hats off to the studio as well. They obviously, this is the game that they wanted to make. This is their vision that they created a whole new studio to ensure. And it isn't a game for everyone, but that's fine, because not everything should be for everyone, and that would be a very dull and boring world. So that has been a fireside chat on Asemblance. I have been Liam, and I've been joined by Kevin today, and we will be back next week for an episode of the PunchCast, because this week we took a break, right, Kev?
Break by no one talking about anything. I was at work, but since we talked about this, that is perfectly peachy with me.
Yeah, exactly. I've actually been playing more. I think in the next episode we'll be talking about Technomancer, which I'm going to try later on today. SteamWorld Heist, I think, as well. I want to talk about that because that's brilliant. That's really good. It'll
be a slow couple months. I know that weird Walking Dead Minecraft game is out next week, which I want to give a try.
I didn't even know about that.
It's 7 Days to Die, I think it's called.
Now that rings a bell. Yes. Oh yeah, can't wait to play that. Yeah, for sure.
Zero Time Dilemma is out next week, which I will.
Zero Time. You keep saying games that I have no idea of.
It's part of the 999 series.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
I love that series. Yeah. Obviously not enough because I had
well,
no idea.
Those games are so. I have to go back and watch like a recap of what happened in those games because it was nonsense. But yeah, there's like some solid like smaller little games. Depends obviously what everyone else plays and has to contribute, I guess. But I'm excited for some of these smaller releases. It's not the big games. There are still little gems like Asemblance that have come out and are great little experiences.
Exactly. So yeah, that'll be next week. Thank you for listening today or watching if you're on YouTube, and we will see you later. Bye bye.